So good evening, everyone. So today on Our Legends, we have a doctor who is a visionary, who is a leader par excellence, a doctor who could envision back in 1980s that trauma is going to be an epidemic of 21st century. And from there on, he started working on to be prepared for it. I extend warm welcome to Dr. M C Misra.
Thank you.
Dr. M C Misra, who has been the former director, AIIMS Delhi, with which he was associated for long 37 years before he became the Vice Chancellor and President of Mahatma Gandhi University of Medical Sciences, Jaipur. And now currently he's associated with Sharda University as an advisor to the Vice Chancellor. So Dr. Misra, as we were discussing, has a star-studded career, and everybody can imagine his CV runs across like 137 pages. But I will say the brightest thing that shines through all the myriad achievements and awards that has been bestowed upon him is his conviction, his commitment, his perseverance in creating the Apex Trauma Center, AIIMS, New Delhi. A man whose life statement is, so I hope you agree with that, that it is only when you step outside your comfort zone that you can change, you can grow, and you can transform. I feel special pride and privilege to have you here, sir. Thank you so much for honoring us with your presence.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Prathiba.
So, sir, we are going to understand a little bit of your journey. And when one goes through this extraordinary life journey of yours, what really kind of stands the tallest is the Apex Trauma Center AIIMS, a dream which you envisaged in 1981 and to which you stuck through all those 25 years till 2005, till it became functional. Sir, I want to know, what was that motivating you, or something that really led to stay committed for such arduous long years in spite of all the hurdles that you faced through those years? So what was the driving force, sir?
That's a very, I must say, interesting question. I was awarded Commonwealth Medical Fellowship in 1988 when I was lecturer in surgery at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, which I had joined in 1980 July, as a senior resident training. And when I was filling up my area of interest in 88 as trauma care services in India, so my colleagues were actually laughing at that. What is this trauma you want to undergo this training? What I say, in 1988, 60,000 young lives were lost in India because of accidental and non-accidental reasons on our roads. 40% of this road deaths are young lives, basically. The whole trauma, if you look at, the only difference what it has made over the years is that today we lose almost 150,000 or even more lives on our roads alone, road deaths, what I'm talking. So what I was saying, that the only difference what it has made, that it has grown in numbers.
It's grown in numbers.
Globally, if we look at today, almost we have 1 million deaths due to injuries. And if you compare injuries to, say, cancer and heart disease, which are two more common causes of death in all ages, injury impacts the young lives. And if you compare years of productive life loss due to injury, they exceed both put together, cancer and heart disease. So that was something which naturally, and there was no organized trauma care these patients would receive when they would come in our emergency departments. They would get a second priority because surgeons were busy doing elective work. Like if I have a theater, I have a list already, and I would be engaged in doing that list. And if there is a trauma patient and requires surgical intervention, he or she will have to wait. And the trauma, what is said for trauma is somebody who touches it first determines the outcome of these patients. In the pre-hospital setting, the same thing applies in hospital setting also. If we do not prioritize and what we call golden hour, and in India, a significant number of patients have already lost golden hour in the pre-hospital setting when they arrive in emergency department. So we need to convert the first hour into our emergency department as the golden hour. So what I call, they may come after silver hours, like 4 hours, 8 hours, bronze hours, and we still can impact their outcome by our efficient management of these patients, returned functional and productive to society. I think that is what must motivate, and trauma gives very gratifying results if they manage on time, because time is of essence. If somebody has airway obstruction and we do not relieve that obstruction in 3 minutes, and even if that patient survives, he would or she would survive with hypoxic brain damage. So, and then naturally the next killer is the bleeding. Within 24 is mortal, within few hours is the bleeding, which, so I think that is something which hit me even in those days. When there was no organized trauma care in India. It is still not that much organized, but it's still much better now. There are pre-hospital ambulance services available in many states, run through 108 number, and now private ambulances also operate. So people who can afford can gain access to private ambulance. Those who cannot afford, they can access the public funded ambulance system. So it is better than what it was, but still India is a large country. We have a lot of areas which have difficult terrain. So that is why it takes up. Suppose a bus falls into a gorge in Uttarakhand or Himachal or Kashmir or Northeast. If it happens around when the evening is approaching and that it is dark, these people will never get rescued until next day morning. So it's the natural self-selection of these patients, who survives, who dies. That is something which needs to change.
So, but I think, sir, you have actually proven that one man with conviction can really bring a change to reckon with. So I think that is your conviction that India needs like protocolized and the standardized pathways to take care of trauma. That is what you state by. That's great, sir. So the next, I think what I would really like to understand, you have been a pioneer in establishing the minimal invasive surgery throughout India. You have developed and worked a lot in developing this field, and for which you had also been awarded by the prestigious BC Roy Award, and that was 96. So, sir, how did that journey begin? So what led you into that, and how did you just kind of excelled in that?
That is also very interesting, Dr. Prathiba. When I returned in '89 after having taken the trauma care fellowship, I gave a thesis topic to a postgraduate as a major trauma outcome study at India Institute. But then this trauma center was not taking shape. And in the meantime, this minimal access surgery was on the horizon. I mention it precisely. The first laparoscopic gallbladder removal was performed by Professor Tempton Udvadia in Mumbai on 31st May 1990. And but then there was no progress, not much progress, because not very many people could afford the instruments. And also it was just upcoming. So we were fortunate that our chairman of the department at All Indian Institute had attended a conference in Australia in 1991, somewhere in June, July. And when he returned, he was instrumental in acquiring the equipment, basic equipment for laparoscopic cholecystectomy, because that was the procedure done at that time. There was no training opportunities in 1991 or 1990. So how do we do that? So there was a conference in Delhi, where an international conference where people had come from overseas. So there was one gentleman called Dr. Mohan Cheleppa from Singapore. And you can imagine, Dr. Pratibha, that he had brought with him the 15-minute laparoscopic cholecystectomy video. 15 minutes. Who has patience now to look at 15-minute video today? So we requested him. And prior to that, in June of 91, I had visited an international conference of emergency surgery in Lisbon. And after that conference, I contacted two centers, one in Paris, one in Strasbourg in France. to get exposed to laparoscopic surgery, and another center in Munich, Germany. So I visited these 3 centers, just observed. They were doing laparoscopic cholecystectomy alone at that time. And when I returned, and we got hold of that video, 15-minute video of laparoscopic cholecystectomy. And naturally, we were young at that time, so we wanted to do it. Myself and one of my colleagues, we both shared that video, copied the video. And then you always find it difficult to get the first patient, because the procedure was new. Nobody had ever done it before.
So, but then it is like you didn't have the hands-on experience before you attempted it on a patient, like hands-on experience under some supervision.
No, I just observer.
Just an observer.
No hands-on. Nothing. Nothing was there at that time.
So it's like the video was
that
your
is
guru
what I want to share
for the laparoscopic surgery.
Yeah, so that is what I want to share with the those who are watching and who are listening, that there was one patient who agreed, and she was known to someone who was working at AIIMS, fully well knowing that I'm going to do it for the first time. And we didn't have camera, camera and monitor at that time.
Okay.
So, like you do TURP, I did first better like that. So I watched that video at least 15 times night before to do that procedure in the morning. So I took almost 4 hours to do the first laparoscopic cholecystectomy. And
so the analogy that's coming to my mind is Karna, the Karna from Mahabharata, and he learned archery like that. Was it like, observing from afar, So that is like you have learned just by observing. So that's amazing. Wonderful.
So naturally, the second case took 3 hours, third case took 2 hours, and then time came down.
The first patient came out well.
Yeah.
I mean, after that, the recovery was good.
Fortunately, all the patients did well. And that was, and then naturally there was no going back. In this and following year in 1993 January, we organized a live workshop, because then it became common for the benefit of others also. So we had a Japanese surgeon who came in. He did some procedures. He did a hernia, groin hernia laparoscopic. He did a CBD exploration laparoscopic, and gallbladder obviously. And then we started building up, and then naturally what I thought in early 90s that it will take almost turn of century before it becomes a gold standard, but I was wrong.
Yeah, that is what even, So for us also, it's very difficult to kind of even think that it was not there, or it has just happened very late in the 90s. So for us, it is like it was almost there always, but I mean, it became a gold standard pretty early.
That's right.
From the time you initiated and from the time it just kind of got picked up.
Because patients would demand, and naturally then we had to offer. So some people were ahead in private practice also, and they took up. But there was a lot of skepticism in the beginning by very senior surgeons.
That is always there. Resistance comes in.
All those increased incidence of conduct injury, and there were mishaps. There is no doubt. If people did not do it, taking all measures, all precautions, so there were some mishaps which gave a bad name, but there were no going back for people either. So they were demanding कि दूरबीन वाला कराना है, because the advantages were so overwhelming that you are avoiding, and we were doing all through before that the open cholecystectomy, which would have a lot of morbidity in terms of post-operative pain, in terms of wound infections, wound adhesions, and all that. So I think it was really a revolution, I would say. If you compare in medical field, what are the landmarks? It is one of them that it changed the lives of millions of people. That minimal access has revolutionized.
Definitely, sir. So you have been part of the creating of this all historical moments in the surgery in the medical field. Great, sir. So one thing, because you have been also administrator for a very long time. So as a person, so what you have enjoyed more, being a surgeon or being an administrator and a leader? So what is like your favorite part that you have played? So it's like a surgeon or an administrator or an academician also. Let's put the third thing also.
No, I think it has to be our profession first. Administration comes later. So, and profession involves both. For surgeons, it involves surgical practice as well as academics and research. And you do get a lot of happiness and satisfaction when your one article gets published in a good journal. You feel happy. If people in the olden days, now it doesn't happen because of internet and all. Previously, if, Dr. Prathiba, people would write to you to get the reprint of the article. That was very common.
Very so, and very satisfying also.
It was so satisfying.
Yeah, that you have
read it. They want to have the article. That, of course, now we talk of citation index and the H index, etc. But in those days, a small postcard would come that please send us a reprint of the article, and that's how it happened. So that was something which would give you a lot of, and we were using that Index Medicus, if you remember, as our libraries to get the review of literature. Now there is no Index Medicus, so everything on a click of laptop or on our smartphone. So I think that way the life has become much better in terms of
availability.
By the information technology revolution, I think and instrumentation in laparoscopy also has changed. Now we have high definition cameras, high definition scopes, and a lot of instruments have changed. The concepts have actually a lot of concepts have been clarified and standardized. Procedures have been standardized. Like when we started doing hernia, groin hernia, for example, I was not very convinced that we should be doing groin hernia laparoscopic. Because you can do it groin hernia. That was the criticism also, that you can do it under a local hernia repair. You are, and then it can be done as a daycare procedure. In laparoscopy, when you do groin hernia, it becomes a major procedure. When we started doing that, and we saw that, and there is an advantage of laparoscopic groin hernia repair also. And now, of course, people demand it. At that time, nobody was demanding groin hernia. So that was something which was also different. And we started then doing, and standardized techniques were developed for groin hernia. And then ventral hernia, incisional hernia. So, and then, of course, in the beginning, it was ablative surgery, most of adrenalectomy, nephrectomy, splenectomy.
So the way, sir, sorry, the way you are speaking about surgery, clearly, I think surgery has stayed your first love always. It's very clear. The way you are there so passionately, it has to be.
Whatever administration also I did, I got the opportunity as the chief of trauma center or as a director of All India Institute or the department of or today, whatever people are asking for my advice and contribution. So that is largely coming from the profession. And then naturally the administration becomes, so my administration was that I should not be harming anyone. And my approach always have been very positive about things. I would try to find out how it can be done rather than to see that how it cannot be done.
Not be done.
And try to help.
So that's why you have been able to do so much. And I'm sure that is the reason. So sir, इतनी बड़ी जो शख्सियत है, इसके पीछे के शख्स को अगर हमें जानना तो थोड़ा बचपन में झांकना पड़ेगा. So I will request you that if you can please take us to your childhood, where you were born, your parents, siblings, and certain people who left an impression during those formative years.
Absolutely, इसमें तो कोई दुराई नहीं है. Parents come first, and my father was a teacher. And he was teaching English to class 11th and 12th in a railway college in a place called Tundla, that is near Agra. It was a railway junction, and so we had very close association with railways. So
you have gone back to your home state now being in Noida,
Uttar Pradesh.
Yes, so you were born there.
So I studied in the same school and college from class 4 to class 12. and then I did biology in 12th. So my father was a teacher there, and he was a huge inspiration. The way he conducted his life, so honestly, and he was loved by his students. Loved and respected by his students, and those students who passed out and achieved some big positions, and they would come and look for him and come to meet him even in Delhi when he was staying with me in Delhi later on, after when he was retired, and so he stayed with me here. And I can tell you that I don't remember that he ever scolded me or even slapped me. And we were 8 children.
Brothers, sisters.
Brothers, 5 sisters, 3 brothers, and a teacher in a college. And we never felt that we were deficient in something. We were not getting it. So I think that is the beauty, that we knew how to live in limited resources. But we never felt limited. That was the beauty of that. And then actually, every parent wants their children to become better than them. So he never asked me what you should take, what should you not take, whatever you should do that. So I wanted biology. So he said, okay, go ahead with that. And then I got admission in 1970 in medical college, and Jhansi was a new medical college. And not yet started. So all the students for Jhansi were admitted in Meerut Medical College, LLRM Meerut Medical College. And my father came to drop me in the hostel, accompanied me, but we were transferred to Jhansi the following year, that is in 1971, to Jhansi. And then I had wonderful medical teachers in medical college. Those who were actually, a lot of them inspired us, and they were fantastic teachers. And also one surgeon under whom I did my internship, and then I did my house job, I did my residency for 6 months, Dr. Professor Asopa, HS Asopa. He was president of ASI also subsequently, and he was such a modest person. He was, and I haven't seen a surgeon like him. I am a surgeon myself. I see many surgeons, but in those days, in 1973, as a third-year medical undergraduate, I saw him performing Whipple's operation in Jhansi. So that's and naturally, inspiring. At that time, there were no subspecialties or super specialties. So most they would do head injury also. They would do thoracic also if that is required. They would do abdominal surgery. And so he was a huge inspiration for me to go for surgery. And then once I completed internship, house job, we didn't have post-graduation in our college. So we completed the house job and residency. So UP government decided to allocate us in different medical colleges, which were already existing, government colleges existing in UP. So we, and at that time, there was no NEET, nothing. So you were getting admission out of your MBBS merit. So MBBS marks, basically. So I got MS surgery admission in Allahabad.
So sir, you always once you were influenced by your surgery teacher, professor. So, I mean, that time you were always able to make up your mind that you have more of surgical hands than the medicine mind that you would like to follow surgery. So was that the time?
Hands, so I can't say. we saw him surgery, so it looked very simple.
It looks simple.
Any good surgeon, when he operates or she operates, surgery looks very simple. However complex that surgery may be, and this is true today also. So, but he impressed quite a lot, and so I was persuaded to go for surgical specialization. And there, I had very good teachers, professors at Allahabad also. And they were so...
So I'm again going to stop here and ask you one thing, just for the benefit of the audiences, sir. So when a person is trying, kind of deciding on the stream, so do you think that like surgeons are born with this inherent passion for surgery, or this skill can be cultivated. So what do you think should be considered when we are, trying to understand that what we are meant for, like the surgical fields or the medicinal fields? So going forward in surgery, did you ever regret कि ऐसे ही सर्जन बन गया या कुछ और कर लेता, ऐसा कभी हुआ?
नहीं, ऐसा तो नहीं हुआ naturally. नहीं तो, and I think this is where we have in India, it's a little bit problem now with the NEET, etc.
Yes.
Because most people do not get their first choice. I remember only 1 or 2 persons during my whole career that they were not cut out for surgery. And they got surgery. Like at AIIMS, I had one postgraduate who joined, but subsequently he realized that and he quit surgery, and then he went for competitive examination and took something else. Otherwise, I think people know what they are going in for, but they must know what they are going in for.
They must know, yeah. So that's that. It should match with the personality. Otherwise, it becomes a little difficult to continue.
Yeah. Dr. Prathiba, even before becoming, taking a specialization, I would say, for the sake of those who are listening, that even going for medicine, doing MBBS, one should be very clear that what you are going in for. Because those children who come to me for advice or counseling, or just when they are in their 10+2, so I tell them, if you are interested yourself to take up medicine, then only you go for it. Don't get under pressure from your parents. Because what happens that sometimes they take under pressure from parents and then they cannot cope. And they are stuck basically. So I think that is something which children must
be very clear. So
they somehow take up MBBS if they really like it from within. It should not.
Even over the years, the number of children going for medicine is generally decreasing. It has been a decreasing trend since many years now, because somehow, with the realization of how long drawn process this is.
Good. And I consider it is good. Because we'll have enough children who will compete. And
still we have enough.
We have very large
still we have enough.
And I know after having done MBBS, a lot of children are not getting admission into PG because they are
limited seats.
So I think that it has been a little problem for us, our children basically. So there is no of these children. It's just their competition basically prevents them from getting the post. Such competition doesn't exist anywhere.
That's right.
Such a competition doesn't exist. You
doesn't exist
easily, and our students get it overseas so easily. But in India, because of the numbers, it's very, very competitive. So I think
very competitive.
What I tell them, that it takes 8.5 years before you specialize in any area, from your admission to specialization. If you want to do super specialty, it takes 11.5 years minimum. That's the minimum. If you get everything. And I also say that be prepared for this long haul, and also do not try to become rich very quickly when you take up medical profession, because absolutely one should be very clear on that.
Very clear about
one
that.
One could have a decent life. You will be much better off anybody else in the society of your peer review. Don't compare with your management, the graduates or those who have done engineering and then did MBA and then got some package. Don't compare with those people, because what you are scoring and you score on everyone else is your life after 60 years of age. Then,
so it's almost equivalent to a hermit's life. And it's almost becoming of a doctor or making of a doctor is just need that kind of, the patience and commitment. It's almost
and dedication.
Everything's a lot of sacrifice.
Absolutely.
A lot of sacrifice goes in.
And suddenly there is an emergency. We just go to movie, and maybe others will go. I will not go for dinner. Anywhere invited for dinner. So we all have to put up with this.
But sir, this is what we saw even the COVID times. But I think we are almost like soldiers. We get trained like soldiers, where for us the satisfaction comes from serving others. So it's very deeply embedded in all of us. So compared to movie, performing a surgery will always give you more high than watching. Here you are a hero yourself. Another thing, sir, like you, I think, graduated in 1975, and 70s is known as the decade of brain drain, when many doctors from India were like going to US and abroad. So this thought ever crossed your mind to migrate to the greener pastures? Did it ever occur to you?
After having done MBBS, no. Even
Okay.
after having done post-graduation, no.
Okay.
And fortunately, as the luck would have it, after post-graduation, I went back to my parent medical college where I got a registrar job because still there was no post-graduation there. And then I got selected for AIIMS senior residency, which was, I would say, the what you call watershed moment in my life, because that gave me exposure, because I had no idea what when I was taking MBBS, this admission in MBBS in UP, I didn't know All India Institute, what it is all about.
Okay.
So we were not that much well informed in those days. And when I came to AIIMS, then I saw that what lies ahead. And then I'm in contact with, again, very excellent teachers, excellent professors. All were in masters in their own field. Somebody was doing GI surgery, somebody was doing head and neck and plastic surgery, somebody was doing endocrine surgery unit was there in those days. And another unit was doing breast surgery more than anything. So I think that was a huge exposure, and I actually recommend everybody who is not going for super specialization must do 3-year senior residency, preferably after post-graduation in a government institution, preferably in Delhi, because we have a lot of opportunities. I don't know in other states how much opportunity, but now for entering a medical college, private or government, 1-year senior residency after post-graduation under NMC rules. So they must do that. What I call the senior residency as a higher training, basically. So basic training, MS, then higher training, and then you don't have to look.
It's like an advanced training, so it's like a kind of,
And then you can do fellowships and all that.
Totally agree, sir. Totally agree. So that 3 years really gives you that kind of confidence to you become independent.
Decision making.
It becomes, it just shapes you up.
Clinical medicine, it's the decision making, which is important, whether you are a medical discipline
so
or
I think, sir, so I think that the years of 3 years of senior residency is when you start learning beyond books. So it is like, it's not about the books, then it is about your experiences.
And you teach undergraduates, you teach postgraduates. Senior residents also inspire your PGs.
Definitely.
They conduct themselves. So I think it's a whole continuous chain which goes on in the profession.
Definitely. So that is what they say. It's like a science of medicine we learn in our degrees, and then art of medicine is like what comes from the experiences. So that's important. So, sir, amidst this, there has been tremendous amount of work pressures and responsibilities. Could you find some time for love and marriage? So, where and when did you find the love of your life, sir?
You see, when I went back to Jhansi after my post-graduation, so my wife was in the same medical college in Jhansi.
At that time, she was doing.
She was a third year. So I was taking clinics.
Wonderful.
These students, and I saw her and I liked her. But we didn't even talk. So that happened within February, and 5.5 months I was there. And when I came to Delhi for senior residency, then I just wrote her a letter. That's all. And I just waited that, let me see whether I get a reply. So fortunately, I got a reply. She also didn't know why I have written. So and we met briefly because she would go, her parents were in Himachal, so she would go via Delhi. So once she was going, she said, I'm going, so why don't you come and meet me? So we met, and that's how. There was no other courtship or the boyfriend girlfriend type thing.
So intuition worked for you. Like intuitively, you knew that she is the one.
That's right.
It's wonderful, amazing. So
of course, we knew that we liked each other. She also discussed it within her family, and she was only, I think, 21 or something like that. So she was very young, and I was 28 almost at that time. So, so her parents, naturally, initially they were little hesitant, but we were Mishras and they were Goyals.
Oh, so, that's difficult.
My father had no problem. He said, my mother little bit said, I persuaded her and I say that अगर तुम कहने लगे मैं उसके हाथ का खाना नहीं खाऊंगी बनाऊंगा तुम्हारे लिए मैं बना दिया It's very interesting, Pratibha, that she lived with us then subsequently before she
passed away.
So I think that is something, and she liked her most at the end. She was with, I think these things happen, and her father and her father's younger brother came to meet me at AIIMS, and they said her father fell ill when we were engaged, and he had lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So when we got married in 1981, he received 2 or 3 cycles of chemotherapy at that time. So I think this was a very interesting.
Wonderful. It's actually amazing, like just on intuition, knowing that without speaking, understanding, this is like other world for the younger generation. This is. And then it's like, it's such successful long years of togetherness. That is what it has led to.
40 years.
40 years. Wonderful.
40 years. Completed 40 years in
Golden Jubilees around the corner, another decade.
Yes.
And something about your children, sir. So have you been able to inspire them to follow your footsteps, or they are doing something else?
No, I think we gave them the freedom. We have 2 sons. The elder one was born in 1984, the year of Bhopal Grace tragedy. And younger one was born in 87. And both lovely kids. And we told them whatever they want to do. So my elder son, initially, we wanted to ek jana medicine le le. And he took biology and maths both in 11th. Then he quit on biology subsequently. So he went to engineering stream. He got admission in Delhi College of Engineering. After having done his 10+2, but he studied there for 1 year, and then he got admission in Columbia University, New York.
Wonderful again.
So he did there the undergraduate engineering, electrical or something like that, and also economics from there. And then subsequently he did his MBA from Harvard. And
great.
So he is right now in Boston, working, and he's married. He has a daughter, lovely daughter, which I was just talking to her before we came on chat here.
That is,
that's the most happy moment for us.
I know, the most joyful thing, like now for your life, that brings the joy.
This is the most joyful moment of your life when you see your grandchildren. Because you have forgotten about your kids, how you brought them up. Remember everything. Younger is working with Apple. He had a knack for computers from the beginning. So, even he was making my slides when I was to learn computer at around 40 of age. But making my PowerPoint slides. But then actually I had to learn computer. So now we all have learned. So he is he did his undergrad from Stanford, also post-graduation from Stanford and in computers, and is working for Apple's now around 10 years or so in Bay Area only in California. He is also married, and we are expecting another grandchild in September. And so I think they have done well. We are quite proud of them both. They are very well behaved children. They have brought a lot of happiness to us. Our children first bring happiness, and then the grandchildren bring happiness. So that is life that goes on.
Wonderful, sir. I mean, I can just visualize such a wholesome life that, our all aspects of the life, there has been like a kind of excellence. Wonderful. Amazing, sir. Being so, as a couple, you have been both of them working, doctors, so busy, but still you have been able to raise them so well. It's
I mean,
just, this is
I
so
must
much a matter
tell,
of pride.
yeah, I must tell those who are watching that when
Mhm.
my elder son wanted to go to US, so we
Mhm.
were both were in AIIMS. So we told him that in between I had gone to Abu Dhabi. If you had seen for an
Mhm.
assignment
Mhm.
there in Gulf, so just to make some money.
Mhm.
So I told him that look, I have
Yeah.
um, uh, we have saved only that much that we can support one of
Mhm.
you. We cannot support both of you if we have to pay the fee in US university. So that is something
Mhm.
which we told them very clearly. But
Mhm.
fortunately, they are
Mhm.
they got financial assistance, both of them, and we didn't have to pay much except 15%. I think we paid for both. Rest of
Mhm.
they got the financial assistance. They took some very low interest rate loan from there, and
Mhm.
they were self-sufficient very quickly. So I think that is something which
Yeah.
is very remarkable and very helpful.
So I think this is also the value systems as you were talking about your father. And if you look at the value system your father had and your children is having, there's not much of a difference. I think, one is the genes and other thing as we call as the sanskar that really kind of, flow down the generations. Great, sir. So now also, sir, when I have been, of course, I researched a little bit on you and I was watching all your, YouTube kind of interviews and everything. And you are still very dynamic and always in the forefront, even through the COVID times. You have done so much of advocacy, so much of kind of, spreading awareness. So is there still something that Dr. Mishra wants to achieve? Something still that you want to reach somewhere?
No, I don't want to reach anywhere. But I must say that I have done reasonably well. But what I feel that the training, trauma training, and skill-based courses
Mm-hmm.
must be made mandatory by. I had written to Medical Council of India before. Now there is National Medical Commission. So I want the training must become more competency based, which it has now. They have a curriculum which is competency based, but still
Yeah.
we have not
Mm-hmm.
made this like advanced trauma life support course, advanced cardiac life support
Mm-hmm.
courses, mandatory
Mm-hmm.
for our postgraduates and
Mm-hmm.
our interns, which is so
Mm-hmm.
important. Now, if you look at other countries like Gulf countries also, it is mandatory for every doctor now. These
Yeah.
certified courses, internationally recognized
Mm-hmm.
certified courses.
Yeah.
Similarly, pediatric advanced trauma life support. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
is something which I am engaged in. We got this advanced trauma life support program in
Mm-hmm.
India in 2009 uh,
Mm-hmm.
to Commonwealth Games, and
Mm-hmm.
that was another my aspiration and wish that we should have that. So I tried
Mm-hmm.
first in 92, 93 when I returned from my fellowship, but
Mm-hmm.
no funding at that time I could organize. But in
Mm-hmm.
luck would have it in 1980, 1990, when did we have this Commonwealth Games in 2010? So
Yeah.
in 2008, actually, the government, Ministry of Health, Government of India
Mm-hmm.
approached us, me,
Mm-hmm.
if we can get ATLS program into India, because
Mm-hmm.
that might have been the requirement of Commonwealth Games Committee. So we were supported by Ministry of Health. We went, group of doctors and nurses went to UAE, where the
Mm-hmm.
program was running, and we took it there, the provider course, instructor course back to back, and then in 2009 April we began ATLS program, Advanced Trauma Life Support course for doctors in at first course was held on 16th April 2009 at Trauma Center AIIMS, and
Mm-hmm.
and now we have developed almost 23 sites all across India uh,
Mm-hmm.
through ATLS India. That is a website we have, atls.in, and we have done almost 500 provider courses and 60 instructor courses. We have trained almost 6,000 doctors and nurses, because both these courses happen together, trauma life support courses for nurses and doctors. So I only want to see that these skill-based courses must become mandatory for all the doctors. For undergraduates, basic life support. For interns onwards, the trauma life support, cardiac life support courses must be made mandatory. Which
You're
is
still working on it. You are actively working to make that happen.
So this is my wish that, and I want to contribute as long as I can, by physically, mentally, if I am fit. The other day, I must tell you, one of our colleagues from Safdarjung Hospital, she is the head of anesthesiology in Safdarjung. So she's just messaged me, what are you doing? So I told her that I go to Greater Noida. I ate in this hospital. In South Delhi. So she said, sir, you must take some rest. I said, I consider rest. If you take rest, you rest. So no taking. That is something, that is my motto, that keep working, keep helping, contributing, whichever way you want now. And unknowingly, we inspire so many people. People come to me, the students come to me, sir, you had spoken at that conference, you had shown in that, you had discussed. So somewhere you are impacting people all around.
Definitely. Many lives you can touch by, just being the best of yourself.
What teachers did, so that is what we need to give. And teachers, the surgeons, the doctors, they never grow old. The number. When ऊपर वाले का बुलावा आएगा, चले जाएंगे. But तब तक we must keep contributing. And my teachers, like under whom I worked and got trained at AIIMS, like Professor VML Kapoor, he is still up and about.
Still working.
One of the directors, Dr. Isneha Bhargav, she has crossed 90. She goes to 2 hospitals even today. She was director. And so many others. And naturally, once we become 90 plus and all, when we become weak, we will slow down. We'll slow down.
So it's clear you don't like resting in much, but what do you do to unwind? Something like, to unwind, to some hobbies, something.
I think what I would say, keep the life simple, as much simple as possible. And what I say, with the passage of time, when you grow, somewhere you must do some physical activity. Look after your health. Doctors generally neglect their health because they are so busy. But fortunately, I got inspired by one of the professors I just named, Professor VML Kapoor. He would never take lift in AIIMS. I never took lift at AIIMS. I would climb 9 floors to go to operation theatre. I never took lift at AIIMS. So I think
that's inspiring.
And also, even now, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go for a walk at 5 o'clock, come back at 6:15, 70-minute walk in the morning, and do some gymming also at younger age. So build up your strength, immunity, and health. So, and what is said is basically, and small things one can do, if not getting time, like don't take lift, climb stairs, walk as much as you can.
So do you still listen to ghazals? You mentioned in one of your interviews, like you like Pankaj Udas.
My favorite is of course Jagjit Singh, but I like ghazals. I like music. That is something is soothing, and I organized a live concert at AIIMS by Jagjit Singh in 2006 when we were celebrating.
Pulse, there was used to be Pulse even in one of the cultural programs we used to have.
Not in Pulse, this was the Golden Jubilee.
Okay.
AIIMS. AIIMS was established in 1956. So in 2006, he organized that concert, and I gave Jagjit Singh a prepared plaque where I say, "You are doctor of doctors."
You heal them.
Ghazal is to people. Some people like ghazal, some people like other music, some people like classical music. I like flute also. Flute, harmonium, the usual conventional
So music is something that helps you
Yeah.
unwind, basically.
Yeah,
So it is.
absolutely.
So I think we had an hour of discussion, and it has been such a pleasant experience talking to you, sir. I mean, I am feeling so like this opportunity was given to me. It's the first time, but it's like a dream come true for me also, because I was always intrigued by, these, by doctors like you who have reached somewhere, achieved so much, and, how much it takes to make a doctor like you, sir.
Thank you, Omnicurus.